I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus is a minimalist. He took 600 plus laws and was like, love God, love other people.
Welcome to Creative Creative. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ruth. What are you having for lunch there?
I'm having the Trader Joe's vegetarian pizza, which has
Mm.
way more vegetables than all the other brands available within 3 blocks.
Very cool.
Whole Foods, Target, Amy's, everything at the regular grocery store, none of them have nearly as many vegetables.
Yeah, I tell you, Detroit Lakes is great, but we don't have a Trader Joe's. It'd be perfect if we had a Trader Joe's and more cultural diversity. Yeah, it was so cute. I could see Lucy's little hands reaching in at your pizza.
He hardly eats. But then when I am places and I'm like, she only sort of eats like this retreat this weekend.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, my kid had 2 goldfish.
Yeah. So it was a good weekend up in the snowy mountains of New York. It looked like Lucy had a ball with the puddles. I'm glad you posted the video because that brought back really good memories of the boys at age.
Yeah. There's so many reasons to go to a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, this is the retreat of today's guest.
Yes.
Reverend Dr. Becca Ehrlich drew such a diverse crowd in terms of ages. From 2 to 77.
Nice.
And people who were straight and gay and all the versions. And from all over New York, which I realize I don't spend a lot of time with people from upstate New York.
Yeah.
When I'm in Minnesota and someone's in Detroit Lakes and they're like, I had to run to Thief River Falls, I have a sense of where it is and how far. And these people going from Albany to Schenectady, I'm like, I have no idea what you just did.
Yeah.
Also, people who are not Christian. I don't think I've been on a spiritual retreat with people who are not Christian.
Yeah, that's very good too. That kind of diversity.
And that she creates such a welcoming space for all those people.
I love that. Very cool. I'm glad to hear that it was good. And it was the whole weekend from Friday through Sunday.
It was Friday dinner to Sunday breakfast, but not lunch. And the retreat centers that I remember, I've been out of the game for a while, but it was like a hotel. Each room had its own bathroom.
Isn't that something? I feel somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, all the camps went through this metamorphosis where the rustic wasn't okay anymore.
No.
Like the summer camp I used to go to when I was a kid, like now, even the kids' summer stuff, they have a really nice bathhouse. And I think even like they have big cabins that do have a bunch of bunk beds. So it's probably like 12 girls sharing a bathroom, but still they don't have to go outside to get to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I work out. There's one shared shower house bathroom.
Yeah. Whenever I go back, all I want to do is sit and tell everybody about how awful the bathhouse was when I was camper there. Oh, you should have seen it. I was taking showers with frogs in my shower, but then I just sound a million years old. So I just say, aren't these nice cabins you have now?
Well, and more college students get single rooms now too.
Yeah. And there's really good things about, for example, hospitals. It's hard to find a hospital now where you have to share a room.
I almost had to, and I made it my mission.
Yeah.
To be best friends with every single person who seemed to be a decision maker.
Yeah, that would be hard to share a room when you're in the thick of not feeling good too.
Also, that you would have to sleep in your mat.
Oh, sure. That wouldn't be good. When my oldest was born, we still had shared rooms. When Jesse was born, that was a different hospital, and there I had my own room.
Nice. So I had arranged for so many people to be there that they wrote in my chart, larger than normal support network.
I love that. When I was in the hospital, I remembered that story. I didn't even plan it this way, but it seemed like when one person would leave, the next person would come. I get really stressed out when I'm trying to visit with different people who don't know each other. So it was, I don't have the energy for that right now. It was nice. It was like this person, and then these two, a couple. It felt really spaced out for my temperament at the time. I've been thinking a lot about our guest this week with the minimalism and her book. As I recover from this illness, I've had to keep things at a minimum as far as what do I have the energy for right now? And what do I give my time to? Because it can't be all the things.
I also thought of the guest. I have 2 different coaching clients with long COVID. And always in these discussions of like, what is the most important thing that has to happen this week? And I'm like, why don't we live like that all the time?
Right. Because maybe we wouldn't get sick if we were living like that all the time. So
I also realized I'm getting overwhelmed with all the toys. She does not have many toys. In fact, children often come over here and they're like, where are the rest of the toys? I'm like, this is it.
This is it. Yeah.
She's getting more and more toys with a bazillion parts.
Yeah, it gets to be a lot. And right now is box packing at my house. And if people could see what is surrounding this computer right now, the table where I do a lot of the box packing is also the favorite place for the cats to lay down. Sometimes it feels like a wall of fur surrounding me. And I'm like, okay, something's got to give here. But it won't be the cats.
And the teenage boys.
Yeah, the cats and the boys will stay. But I am in negotiations with hiring a cleaning person to come in. I think that is one thing I would welcome some help with right now. I was proud of myself that I not only talked about doing that, but I think I'm actually doing it. I've been emailing with them and we're closing in on a date.
I'm thrilled about that. I can't tell you how many people I try and convince to get a cleaning person.
Yeah.
Your time is worth more than that, unless you find joy in it. Too.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling stressed and you don't have enough space, people feel like it's wrong or something or too hoity-toity to get it. I'm like, no, it's not.
No. And I do believe that, like we've talked about before, there's certain things that you or I have to do ourselves, but then there's some things that it's maybe more worth it to hire someone to help. And for me, cleaning falls in that second category for sure. There's a lot of people that are a lot better at cleaning than I am. So why not employ them to help me?
So be a minimalist about your task list.
Yeah.
So enjoy Becca.
Yes. Enjoy Becca.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me.
Becca, would you mind taking a few moments to introduce yourself to our listeners?
I'm Becca Ehrlich. I do lots of different things, but what people mostly know me for is my writing on Christian minimalism and my spirituality work.
And I don't know that you know you have this in common. You're both reality show contestants.
I didn't know that. What were you on, Ruth?
I was on a Norwegian reality show called Alt for Norge.
I know.
That was 10 years ago. Tell our listeners about your reality show.
So I was on a show which only had one season called Lost Resort, and it followed people on an alternative wellness retreat in Costa Rica. It used to be on Max. You can buy it on Prime Video and YouTube TV and things like that. It's $20 or something for the season, but you can watch the first episode for free on YouTube.
How did you hear about the show and go about auditioning for it?
It was just like a summer and I was playing around on the internet and it's all, are you at a crossroads in life? Would you benefit from a wellness retreat? And I'm like, sure. And I was like, well, if the application's long, I'm definitely not doing it. And I logged into the application and it was literally your contact info and like, why would you benefit from a retreat? I wrote 3 sentences, sent it, forgot. And a day and a half later, a casting producer contacted me. They kept moving me on. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to end up on the show. Right. I don't look like someone on TV. I just look like a normal human being. And finally, they were like, pack your bags, you're coming to Costa Rica in 3 weeks.
What?
I was like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then how long did you have to commit to being gone?
Almost a month. The actual retreat was a little over 3 weeks. Then there was travel before and after, and you stayed for a few days after to do interviews and stuff. I flew out the day after Thanksgiving and I got back the day before Christmas Eve.
Were you in a call?
That was one of the crossroads. No, I was not. And that's why I was able to film during Advent.
Right. Tell us about these crossroads.
We filmed like 6 years ago, so the crossroads were different then. I had done an interview process for a call that had spectacularly fallen apart, to say that, and was just pissed off at life at that point. I had lost my son at birth a few years before that, and we were trying to figure out about adoption, and I was just not at the point where I was ready for that. I also was at a spiritual crossroads in a dark night of the soul where I wasn't connecting to God really well. There were a lot of things happening, and they used it all in the show. All of that. So you just never know what they're going to use in reality TV.
Yeah, but was it a positive experience?
Yes, for the most part. Dawn, have you watched the whole show?
Oh, I saw the commercial.
Oh, most of it was positive. I think it was net positive. I came out ready to adopt after that. I'm grateful for that experience. There were some situations during the retreat that I was less than happy about. One session with one of the healers was disastrous. It wasn't great. And because I work in a helping profession, I was able to call it out. But for the most part, it was good. Being filmed 24/7 is not for the faint of heart. I don't think I was prepared for that. Were you filmed 24/7 on yours, Ruth?
No, certain times a day, but I just remember just that feeling of, I don't know, we weren't sleeping, always being on, you know?
Oh, yeah, they even filmed us sleeping. Like the only place they didn't have a camera was the bathroom. And they told us the rule that if more than one of you go into the bathroom, like it's party and we're coming in.
Wow.
So we couldn't go in the bathroom and have a conversation. your mic the whole time, except when you're sleeping, but there's a mic in the room.
Yeah, that would be hard. Mine was kinder. We had privacy and
It wasn't
just-
an American show, so it was
they prided themselves on being a nice reality show.
that tracks for that area of the world.
You're the
Yeah.
happiest on earth in that part of the world.
Exactly.
Tell us about your book, Christian Minimalism. It's been a few years now. So tell our listeners about your book.
Yeah, it's just trying to live more intentionally and simply connecting that to our Christian faith and spirituality. People hear minimalism and they think you can't own anything. You can't own anything with color, right? All of these weird, very specific things. And in reality, it's focusing on what matters most and removing everything else getting in the way.
Do you feel like it's more things or time commitment?
Yes. All of the above.
Okay.
Basically, it touches on all aspects of life, right? Most people hear minimalism and think stuff, which is what a good chunk of people need to tackle first. But it's about time commitments, media usage, how we're using our time, energy, and resources in general, all of that stuff. So it's all aspects of life.
How did the book come about?
I'm a blogger turned author. When I started the blog in January 2018, it was like 2 of my friends and their cats. But then it just grew. People found it in different places. It's very niche, right? Not only is the minimalism niche, but then you add the Christian faith and spirituality to it, and then it's like super small. But people who wanted to find it found it. And once I realized it was a thing that people were discovering, I was like, it would be interesting to write a book about this. And traditional publishing in nonfiction is rough now. They want to know they have a good thing. Yeah, your platform's really important. And I had a decent platform. It wasn't amazing, right? But because niche topic. It was decent. And so I queried for like 2 years.
Okay.
Finally, one of my friends who had published a book with church publishing was like, it really pisses me off that no one's biting. Can I just send a letter to the VP of editing there? I was like, sure, it's probably not going to do anything. But they wrote back and they said, send us your stuff. I did. And then I didn't hear anything for 9 months. I went to film the show in the middle of all of it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm just doing this thing instead. That's fine. Out of the blue, right after COVID started, I got an email while on a Zoom meeting for work. It was like, hi, I'm your editor. And I was like, I don't even have a contract. What?
Who's paying you?
Right. So I had to contact him and be like, that's really cool. I'm excited you want to publish my book. I've never signed a contract. Should we do that?
Yeah.
And so then I went from there.
Yeah.
Like people hearing that you queried for 2 years, people want it to be easier, and it just simply is not if you're not already famous. And then that somebody advocated for you. I like that too. Into community here.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally. I think that's such a good point. My book wouldn't exist without my friend and colleague who wrote books being like, hey, this person has some good stuff. And querying is the worst because everyone has different requirements.
Yeah.
So literally they're like, oh, if you don't hear from us in whatever weeks, we're not interested. They can't even send you a form letter after you spent hours. I don't know. It was just not a great experience. Publishing is so hard now.
Yeah. When it came out, did you do a book tour?
Came out in the middle of COVID.
Oh.
No, I wish I could have. I did a digital tour with different bookstores. I did some events and tried to do as much on social media as possible. It was deep in the middle of COVID. There was no way to see people in person, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would be a challenge.
How did this time out? We have children the same age.
Yes.
Having your son enter your life and the book coming out, where's that timeline? These babies were born in 2022.
The show started airing in July 2020. The book came out in May 2021, the month I graduated with my doctorate. Theo was born in December 2022.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's been a very eventful few years.
If you want to do something, though, you can do it.
I would not suggest doing a Doctor of Ministry degree at the same time as writing a book. That was a lot because I was writing my final thesis at the same time that I was in the process of getting the book published.
I found out I was pregnant with my first son the same week I started my Doctor of Ministry program. I was so sick. And then my boys are just 12 months apart. And so the whole beginning of the Doctor of Ministry program is a blur. It took forever, but gosh darn it, I finished it.
Hey.
Yeah. I would have so many dreams that was never finishing it. So the book, have you gotten a lot of good feedback since it's been out?
Yeah, mostly really good. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot out there for this type of conversation. I think the scope has expanded since then, especially when I started the blog. When I got the concept of the blog in 2017, I searched and there was like one-off blog entries here or like a video on YouTube here and there, but no one was talking in depth about minimalism and Christianity together. So I was like, I can't be the only one. Let's share this out and see what happens. Plus, it was keeping me accountable to how I wanted to live more simply. That was sort of what drove me. Once it expanded, I was like, oh, this is a thing people want to talk about and read about. And so when the book came out, people were like, oh, this is great. Because not everyone wants to read a blog. That's just not a medium that some people are into. And having a physical book or ebook, if you want to not have as much book clutter, is a helpful way to get the same topics and conversations in a different format.
When I think of minimalism in pop culture, it feels connected to Zen Buddhism. How does the lens change when it becomes Christian minimalism?
That's been interesting because when I did the research at the beginning, like when it was connected to a religious tradition, it was Buddhism, right? I think it fits well for that. And there's lots of books on that, so everyone can check those out. The big thing for me was I discovered minimalism. I was having a bad health day. I'm a chronically ill human being. And Netflix suggested the original minimalism documentary. And I was like, okay, it's an hour and 15 minutes. If it's terrible, it's not a huge time suck.
Right.
So I watched it and it completely changed my life. I was like, oh my gosh, I think God is calling me to live more minimally. No one watches Netflix and thinks their life is going to change.
Oh, God.
And my husband came home and I was like, you got to watch this. And he was like, he was not very excited about it. But we watched it together. And the second time I watched it, I was struck by people talking about meaning in life. The implication being when we live more simply and we focus on what's most important, it's easier to find meaning in life. Some Christians put meaning through Jesus. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus is a minimalist. He took 600 plus laws and was like, love God, love other people. Yeah. Plus he traveled simply. He got hospitality from other people. He encouraged his disciples to do the same, all of these things. And I was like, okay, there's got to be someone writing about this. I can't be the only one to be sitting here and being like, Jesus lives as a minimalist. And then it turned out there weren't a whole lot of at the time. And I was like, okay, let's talk about this. Everyone else, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
You were the person to convene it.
So like people were connecting the dots, but not making a bigger picture. I was the first to delve deeply into it. Other people followed, which is fine. They have different perspectives.
But your D-Min project was not this.
I had already decided before I got the book contract, because I didn't know I'd be writing a book. My project was on Christian minimalism and spirituality.
Okay.
And so it was a very different perspective, right? The book is very much trade and for a broad audience, whereas the project is more academic and has a very specific format because it's a D-Min project. Even though there's some parallels, they're very different pieces of creativity.
But at least some of the research could be used in both scenarios.
Most of the academic stuff I didn't end up using in the book because it was most of the research that I had done really only went one way, more towards the academic one than the book, just because of what it was made for.
Do you get asked to do presentations on this topic?
I had a lot more before COVID, and I think that was just because there was a lot more stuff that was happening in person. Now I get asked more to do online stuff and podcast. I did a lot of radio, which was a different experience, especially live interviews. It's super stressful.
I've done that.
That's terrifying. They only have a certain amount of time in the segment, and you feel like you're just trying to get sound bites in. I prefer this kind of experience where you can just have a conversation versus, okay, we have 3 minutes, go.
The morning show that's like, this will fit, and the music comes in and there's no turning back.
I'm not doing as much of that anymore, which is nice. I like this long form stuff better.
Did you pitch yourself to podcasts or were they finding you?
No, they found me. I've never pitched myself to a podcast. One time I was talking to someone who made a pop culture podcast, not to pitch myself, but just be like, hey, I love your podcast. And they were like, oh, you were on Lost Resort. Do you want to be on the podcast? I don't know if that was pitching me necessarily as just appreciating, but yeah.
Excellent networking where you're not doing it with an agenda.
No, not at all.
They offer whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Well, and it was different than their regular format. Usually they talked about pop culture and never interviewed anybody, which is why it didn't dawn on me to ask. I was like, I really like your podcast. And they're like, cool, we're changing the format of interviewing people. Do you want to come on? And I was like, what?
You caught them.
And now I'm their religion expert whenever they do a pop culture thing. Yeah. So
awesome. Good.
Yeah, it's fun. They're awesome. They're called The Fraudcast.
Are you still writing on this topic or have you moved on?
I keep the blog updated. I write about once a month, but I also keep up with if people are commenting. I try to comment back if I can and those kinds of things. And I keep up on the social media for the blog, which is a job in itself, but fun. So I make fun memes that people can share or keep for themselves for when they need a reminder to live more simply and not buy into consumer culture, pun intended. And so I've been writing about that topic for a long time. I often get asked to write articles for different groups or blogs on the topic too. So I keep doing that.
This is a topic that really continues to captivate you and interest you. And so what is your biggest challenge in living into Christian minimalism?
That's a great question. The most recent challenge has been having a kid, because you need stuff for a kid. And especially when he was a baby, we all can relate as moms. Babies need a lot of stuff to keep them alive.
Or you could do it without the stuff, but no one wants to live that way.
Totally.
You're really going to hold the kid 23 hours.
100%. And so I think I was in complete shock at how much was needed. Kid spits up every 5 seconds, so you need 100 pairs of clothes. You're changing them 4 times a day, unless you want to do laundry 100 times a day, which who has time for that? I think that was surprising for me. Now that we're in Toddlerville, Dawn, you can relate, I'm sure. You need a little less stuff, but you still need stuff, right? Like when we traveled for 3 days recently with my parents, I felt like we were moving in because we had to bring toys, diapers, diaper stuff, snacks, stuff you need for kids. We're pretty minimal in what we have too. I think the hardest thing is trying to be intentional about what we're bringing into our lives as far as time commitments and how we figured out screen time for him with a little human attached to our family now.
Yeah, that is a whole new season of life to try to live simply. So thinking about general creativity, like when you wrote the book or work on your blog post, is there a certain time of day you like to do your creative work?
No, not at all. I'm not. I know there are some writers that get up at 5 a.m. I am not one of those people. It's whenever I have a decent amount of time to sit down, process, and write. I don't usually think of the topic and then start writing immediately. I contemplate a topic, chew on it for a while, and then when I have time, I'll sit down and write.
So you've been half pre-writing as you walk around your life for a couple days.
Yeah. So I write sermons too.
Tell us, what's your call right now?
So that's fun.
What sermon's happening?
I have 6 different ministry positions. I teach at United Lutheran Seminary. I teach Christian spirituality, 2 courses a year. I just finished teaching Christian minimalism and spirituality. And in the fall, I'm teaching queer spirituality. Lots of different type of courses around spirituality. I think teaching the healthy spirituality course again next spring. I also started a spirituality center. I'm partnering with the local presbytery, the PCUSA. They were excited about the idea and approved it, and then hooked me up with a launch congregation or a partner congregation, which is one of the congregations in the area. Really cool downtown church, lots of cool things happening there. And so we operate out of there. So we do both online and in-person events. We just started in October of last year, just a few months we've been in existence, but so far it's been good. And it's the first year is just like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, because you don't know what type of programs will resonate with people. Our big thing every month is called Grace and Graze. I'm very proud of that name. Basically, we try a prayer practice together, eat snacks, and talk about it. That's our main monthly thing. But then we have other programs, special programs that we do. I'm working on the Progressive Mainline Protestant Spiritual Directors Directory, because it's hard to find spiritual directors that are open-minded, and like most search things that you find for Christian spiritual directors, you just don't know what you're getting. And so we really wanted to have a directory of people where no matter who wants spiritual direction, they can find that person. And anyone on this list, they will be cool with who they are and what they stand for. So that's like my big project right now that I'm working on the Spirituality Center with.
How do you find those people? How are you making this directory?
The start is my own knowledge of people doing spiritual direction and are trained. Those people are sending me people, which is really fun. And then we're going from there.
Okay.
So that's good.
Do you have Trey Everett on there?
I don't. Send stuff to me and I will contact them. Yeah, that would be great.
Mine.
Anyone listening, if you know folks that are awesome spiritual directors and would benefit from being on this directory, shoot me a message.
Where are they shooting you a message? How is that happening?
Yes. So the contact info is on our website, newbreath.org.
Newbreath.org.
What a great idea, because you're so right that looking for Christian spiritual directors, you just never quite know what you're going to get.
You have no idea what you're getting, right? And that's why I'm like, we need some like centralized place to find.
You're doing a lot of seeing what's missing and doing something about it.
Yeah, that's true. The blog is that too, and all my Christian minimalism work. Spirituality learning is much needed at the seminary level, and so that's why I ended up doing that. What else do I do? Oh, I'm a spiritual director. I have 11 directees, and so that's been really fun to do as well. And most of my directees have been with me since I started directing. Some people I've added over time, so that's good.
Who are some of your favorite creators right now?
One of them was actually just on your podcast. Tara Eastman
I love that.
She's great. She and I go way back. So it's fun when we're talking about different creative things we're working on. She does very different creative stuff than I do. She's very much an artist. It's fun to see how we're incorporating creative things in ministry. I'm also still in love with everything Rachel Held Evans wrote.
Yes.
I still reread her stuff all the time, and I'm just sad she's gone. She's a big one for me.
Yeah.
Comes up more often than you would guess on this podcast. Or
It
maybe
doesn't surprise me.
yeah. What a big impact on a short life.
Yeah.
How do you think creativity and spirituality connect?
I think creativity flows from the spirit. Often when I'm doing creative things or writing, like creating for a retreat I have coming up that Dawn is coming on, full disclosure, the most diverse group of people I've ever seen for a retreat. Like as far as age, racial, ethnic background, sexual orientation, gender identity. This is the broadest group, including 3 people who aren't Christian. I found myself getting super creative planning this retreat and worship because of that. And so you just never know when you're going to have inspiration from the spirit and get creative. And so we're doing both an agape meal and Holy Communion. I wasn't sure how people who haven't stepped foot in a church, or if they have, it's very limited, or step foot in a church and decided not for me. There's a wide range. So we're doing bread and water, blessings for the grain, the earth, and the water given to us for life. We're also doing typical Holy Communion. People can take both, one or neither. So yeah, so that was like a creative thing I got to do while thinking about worship on this retreat for a wide range of folks.
Sounds like it's going to be a fabulous gathering.
It's our first retreat for the Spirituality Center. I'm very excited about it. We have 14 people, so it'll be a good group.
We were wondering, is there anything you're working on that she could give you some coaching on today?
I think the Spirituality Center stuff in general is something I'm still figuring out. I've contacted a bunch of people about different potential programs. I think I'm just struggling with some sort of process to get people connected to run programs this side. Right now, it's just whomever people tell me about or I know personally that I'm contacting for programs.
So this Spirituality Center, you're wanting it to be some kind of overarching thing where other people are presenting under the auspices of this center.
Right. Like I wanted a place for people to find spirituality and events and resources in a progressive mainline space.
And what's the problem with just asking your friends? Tell me where the rub is so we can fix it.
It really isn't a rub, right? It's fine if it's people I know personally or like people I know personally who told me about somebody, right? Which has had a couple of times. But I want to expand it more than that. And so I think I'm struggling as far as like, how do I find those people?
Yeah, it strikes me that either you got to be among the people at whatever, the Wild Goose Festival comes to mind. That kind of where you're just walking around all day long, finding people, connecting with people, maybe saying, let's talk later.
Totally.
Is there a problem budgetarily or some other way with letting it just grow organically?
So budget-wise, obviously, we have some granting now, which is really nice. We're a new worshiping community in the PCUSA, which is pretty neat because they're super open to that. Looks very unlike typical church worship. Literally, I told them about Grace and Grace, and I'm like, that's how we worship. Is that okay? And they said, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, great. And the local presbytery has also given us some granting. So we have some money there, but we're still not we're not flush.
Yeah.
So we don't have a ton of money to like bring in speakers. Like we've been giving speakers honorariums. So we can pay people, but we can't get a huge name to come in. So it's like this tricky middle ground.
Are there timelines like the presbytery is only supporting you for 3 years and then you have to be self-sufficient? Anything like that?
Yeah. So the presbytery one, I think we can ask for another renewal and that's it. So I think it's only for 2 years. And then the new worshiping community has like a grant schedule basically where you apply for the next one, which is more money. And then you apply for the next one, which is the same amount of money as the second one, but you only get the money for 3 years basically.
Okay. So it is a 3-year cycle.
Yeah. So the 3-year cycle for the new worshiping communities grants. Yeah.
So it has to at least grow enough that you have a big enough footprint. Have you done the math of how many people need to be attending things 3 years from now?
Yeah. So it depends how often we do programs, which is what we're trying to figure out too. So it's hard to do the math because right now I don't even know how many programs we're doing this year. It just depends what we have the capacity for. And I also do multiple ministries at the same time and starting a faith-based nonprofit on a shoestring.
This is very unknown. Do you need to declare just 6 more months of gathering data before you even answer this question of how to make it grow?
That's probably Probably. Yeah. Because we're just still so new. We're
Yeah.
still figuring it out.
It feels like there's no way to know answers to the questions I would ask in this situation because you just have started.
Yeah. And we have good partners. I think that was like the big thing for us. I didn't want to just start it in a corner by myself, right? I wanted to have it connected to the wider church and the wider world. And like our board has 5 different denominations represented.
Nice.
So we have connections through those things, which is good and helpful. But yeah, just wanting to expand it, but maybe it'll just do it with time.
Also sounds like you're not bad at social media if you got a big enough footprint that you got a book deal.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a social media guru in any stretch. I really just like posted memes and figured it out. But I think a lot of it was just like it was a topic that people were interested in.
Finding the topic that people are interested in.
Yeah, totally.
So what is that right now? No one's sitting at home saying, I wish there was a spirituality center.
Yeah. That's what this year has been, is just trying to find programs that really resonate with folks. Like we did a book study, which we got people at, but it clearly wasn't super popular, which is fine. And then we've had some other programs online, and we did an Advent prayer thing, which most people didn't come to live, but checked it out afterwards, which was good. So mostly we're just experimenting and seeing what that looks like.
Yeah.
So it's figuring out what they really want, making a lot of opportunities once you find out what the thing is.
Totally.
Then kind of being synonymous with it for a couple of years and then expanding out into a smorgasbord.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the retreat is super popular, so hoping to do at least 2 of them. Like
my very unofficial scientific people are looking for live events. Everybody went online. It's cheaper. And now they're like, I actually do want to go somewhere. And there's not very many options. So here you are. Enter this spirituality.
And before I started New Breath Spirituality Center, I did an unofficial survey, which over 200 people responded to from a range of backgrounds. And the number one thing people said they wanted was retreats.
Interesting.
And I was like, okay, that.
Wow.
That's great.
So this retreat, you already are doing 2 this year. It's leveraging that. Just going into marketing brain now because you're saying, how do we get a wider variety? Yeah. So many photos, so many interviews, so much footage. Figuring, you can do this. I know you can.
It's just super new, right? And so I'm still figuring it out and figuring out what other people are looking for and meeting those needs. It's just all very new. It's exciting
I
and
think
fun.
it's surveys every quarter.
Okay.
Things are changing that quickly.
Yeah.
Every night you guys, it's a survey.
Wow.
And you'll get less responses, but you'll just be able to see how the winds are shifting.
Yeah, definitely. That's helpful.
Yeah.
I like that.
What could you do in the next 2 weeks? You'll have the retreat.
I didn't even think about this until we talked about it. So this was actually really helpful. Like making sure to document the retreat so that I have stuff to use for later, whether it be like quotes from people or pictures or at appropriate times. I'm not going to take pictures at weird times, so that when we do the fall retreat, we have stuff to be like, hey, this is what our last retreat looked like. Feel free to join us on the next one.
Yeah, I have a friend who does fitness retreats around the world. They just were in Bali, next they're in Egypt.
Wow.
And there are photos like every other day, year round. I'm taking that many photos on these retreats.
Wow. Okay.
Like 1 or 2 of the days, they might have one of those vacation photo people come in. So I constantly have a sense of what these retreats are like.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So I didn't even fully think about that. I always try to take some photos, but I think I need to be more intentional about how I'm documenting.
I think no less than 400.
Holy crap. Okay.
That you'll take a couple, it's a bad background, you'll move a little, just constant, or you obviously should delegate it so that we see you leading.
There's someone you could invite just to be taking pictures.
Yeah, good idea.
I can go over the top with it, but you'd have to tell people why I'm being so weird.
I can do that.
Yeah, I'll help. And then just some testimonials at the end, video testimonials.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. I thought of doing video ones, but that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's better for the algorithms.
Yeah. Oh, those dang algorithms.
Yes.
So the thing you can do in the next 2 weeks is be sure that this retreat is documented upside down and backwards.
Yes, for sure. I will definitely do that.
And see what it resonates with.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want people to know about this thing you're building? Know about New Breath Spirituality Center?
You can find us at newbreath.org. We're also on Instagram. We're New Breath SC. Anytime there's a program coming up, we always tell everybody about it. You can get on our email list on the website too, so you can be the first to know about things coming up. And then we always keep our website super updated, so you can register for programs and see what's coming up and get involved.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me.
Here, Pat. It's so nice to meet you, and so many blessings on all the cool things you're putting into the world.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Created Creative.
We're so glad for each one of our listeners, and we'd love to engage with you more.
Continue the conversation with our Patreon. Everyone, check it out with our link. It is hard to search it on Patreon. There are 3 levels. The $5 level is a sticker. The $10 level will be gathering to be creative together. To the $20 level, I'll be doing creative coaching like you hear on many episodes.
We wanted this to be a benefit to our listeners to be part of the Patreon. And please follow us and leave a rating for us, and also a review wherever you listen to podcasts.
Go create something.
Go create something.